Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist, and today I'd like to talk to you about another one of my articles. This one is entitled Artificial Weather. Now in this article I explain why I think most of the weather we encounter on this planet nowadays is artificially created and controlled. And I reached this conclusion after studying the behavior of Hurricane Harvey, which has devastated parts of Texas. And this has happened at the end of August of 2017. Now, when this hurricane moved inland, it was observed to then back out, back into the ocean, and then go back inland. And this demonstrated to me that it was under intelligent control, because this is just not normal, that a hurricane should behave in this manner. I was then directed to the website www.weatherwar101.com, where I learned and worked out some more details about the current weather patterns that we see happening around the world. But let's start with how rain is supposed to be formed on our planet. And it starts with the sun heating ocean surfaces or lake surfaces. This leads to evaporation. So liquid water goes into the gaseous phase. Now, in order for clouds to form, this water vapor has to go back into the liquid phase. So it has to condense back into droplets of water. And once these droplets of water form, they collide with each other and they form larger drops until they get large enough to fall as rain. Then this rain flows back towards the ocean along rivers. So this is the normal rain cycle, or it's called the hydrological cycle. But something else needs to occur, and that is that water vapor has to condense and form water droplets. And the best way to do that is to have a solid surface, because in order for water vapor to condense back into the liquid phase, it needs to be attached to a solid surface. And what then causes these droplets to form are small solid particles in the atmosphere, and these are called cloud condensation nuclei, or CCNs. And these CCNs are very small particles, usually with a diameter of about 0.2 micrometers, or 1/100th the size of a normal sized droplet in a cloud. Now, if these CCNs are not available, it is more difficult to get water vapor to condense. You would have to subject it, for instance, to sub-freezing temperatures for long periods of time. And so, for instance, if water vapor was cooled to 8 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 13 degrees C, it would take 6 hours for water vapor to condense into liquid droplets of water. And if sub-freezing temperatures were not available, then high pressure can also do it, but this is not easily available in our atmosphere. So the best way to form liquid droplets is to have these small particles in the atmosphere. And this is what then happens. We start with water vapor, we then have a CCN, then the water vapor is attracted to the CCN and it condenses on its surface, thus forming a droplet, a normal cloud droplet. But that's not the end. These droplets then have to collide with each other and coalesce into larger droplets. Now the problem is that these CCNs are small particles of, say, dust, black carbon, forest fires, sea salt from ocean spray, and sulfate from volcanic activity and phytoplankton. And they have to be a certain size to start off with in order for the right size raindrop to form eventually. But we do have CCNs which are not natural to our planet. And these are formed from or come from factory smokestacks and internal combustion engines. So these are produced through the burning of fossil fuels. And these are not natural, they're usually called pollution. Also, these CCNs are usually much smaller than the natural ones, like dust and sea salt from ocean spray. And the problem then is that these lead to droplets of water that are smaller than the typical droplet. So the typical cloud droplet has a size of 0.02 millimeters. And the typical CCN, these are the natural ones that produce this size of water droplet, are about the size of 0.0002 millimeters. And then from these typical cloud droplets, through collisions and the droplets coalescing into larger droplets, eventually a typical raindrop is formed, which is about the size of 2 millimeters. And these raindrops then fall as rain. So the typical droplet is about 100 times smaller, or 0.02 millimeters in diameter. And that would then create eventually a raindrop. But it takes 1,000 typical cloud drops to collide and coalesce in order for a typical raindrop to form. And if the CCN that is available to produce these cloud droplets is much smaller than the typical CCN, the cloud droplet is also much smaller. And then it's more difficult for these collisions to occur and for the droplets to coalesce into a size droplet that is large enough to fall. So what this leads to is the pollution leads to rain not occurring. It leads to clouds, but the raindrops never occur. The drops that form are too small to fall as rain. And this was the conclusion that Daniel Rosenfeld from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem came to due to his study into what happens with pollution. And Daniel studied satellite images of smog streaming out of power plants, lead smelters, and oil refineries. And he could see that such clouds did not lead to rain. So he further concluded that since this type of pollution is present in many parts of the world, that it must be affecting rainfall on a global scale. So we see here smokestacks producing large amounts of pollution due to the burning of fossil fuels. And we have been using these fossil fuels now for over 100 years. So it should have led to no rain anywhere. And if there is no rain, this is the type of terrain we usually end up with, a desert landscape. Now, this article appeared on March 10th, 2000 in a BBC News webpage entitled "Air Pollution Stops Rain." And now, this was probably known a long time ago, that the burning of fossil fuels would lead to no rain, and no rain would lead to basically death to all living organisms on Earth. We need rain to survive. So it should have led to moving away from burning fossil fuels, but this has not happened. And instead, we have that any technological innovation that moves away from the burning of fossil fuels is discouraged, to the point that innovators are sometimes killed. And the reason, I believe, is that the powers that be got rich and continue to get rich from the use of coal for the production of electricity and the use of gas in internal combustion engines. Remember that every vehicle has an internal combustion engine in it, and it burns a fossil fuel, gas. So any innovation that would tend to moving away from the burning of fossil fuels has been discouraged for over 100 years. And we basically are still using the same technology that the Model T Ford used in the early 20th century. So, but they must have figured out that it would lead to no rain, so they had to come up with an idea to solve that problem. And the problem was solved by allowing power stations to release about 50% of the steam that they produce in order to turn turbines and produce electricity out into the atmosphere. And it seems that that is what is happening and has been happening for a very long time. There's this release of steam from these power plants. Now, power plants don't have to be built in such a way so that they release any steam at all. But it seems that they are doing just that. So what we see in a normal coal burning power plant, we have coal, the coal is burnt, the coal is used to heat water, water as steam then is used to turn turbines, and this causes the generation of power. Then some of the steam, it goes to this precipitator and is released as water vapor into the environment. And this is obviously done on purpose to produce the large amounts of water vapor needed in the atmosphere. And as well as water droplets. Now, so this is actually being used artificially, but other things are needed in order to steer the storms and increase sometimes the strength of the storms. And this is the use of radar seems to be used to compress the storms and increase the rotation as well as steer them, because radar produces acoustic waves in air. If as a portion of the air in the atmosphere is impacted by radio waves or microwave radiation, it causes an oscillation which leads to an acoustic wave. And this acoustic wave can impact cloud formations and compress them. And when these rotating wave cloud patterns are compressed, they are forced to spin even faster through the principle of conservation of angular momentum. When you decrease the size of a rotating object, you increase its rotation. Now, in order to make them easier to steer, it also you need to basically make them electrically conductive, and this is done by the introduction of heavy metals into the atmosphere, which are then used as CCNs. So these are at the core of water droplets in clouds, and this is of course done through the heavy use of aluminum oxides and other metallic oxides in chemtrails. Now, the fact that we now have large numbers of stellar remnants close to the sun in the sun's corona, these are destabilizing our sun, increasing the radiation impacting our atmosphere, the cosmic radiation, and their large magnetic fields are also heating up our planet as all other planets in the solar system. And this of course would lead to more severe weather problems. It should increase the severity of storms, yes, because there is just more heat. The ocean is being heated from the bottom. But it seems that these weather patterns that we are seeing are actually under intelligent control. Then it's not just that it's the effects of these objects that are causing an increased severity, although that would be expected. But it seems that the severity seems to be under intelligent control and being used against us. So it is possible that the increased use of chemtrails is as a result of wanting to decrease the temperatures on the surface of the planet. But however, the use of these chemtrails is destroying the ozone layer and poisoning every organism on Earth. And just the increase of UVC radiation due to the depletion of the ozone layer will lead to the killing of every living organism on this planet. So we actually need solutions that preserve the planet and life on it, rather than continue on this destructive path. Also, it seems that now the people that have taken over the production of artificial weather have also declared war on certain countries, including the United States. And if any government would like to fight back and survive, then it is necessary to realize this and fight back. So we see what is happening in Texas, and this seems to be an attack on that state and this nation. And this should be realized, and ways of fighting this destruction should be produced. Now, it's because what is being used is quite clear, and that is the compression of cloud systems through the use of radar beams. It is possible to do the opposite. So from the outside, these cloud systems are compressed. So it is possible that this process can be reversed by aiming a radar microwave beam into the eye of the storm. This would then should lead to it slowing its rotation and possibly dissipating. So it is all governments that want to fight this war on their own people and on their ability to survive as a government should therefore look at producing these microwave beams and aiming them at the eye of these storms that are destroying their countries and their economies. So in conclusion, artificial weather seems to be widespread throughout the whole planet, but now that it is being used as a weapon against certain countries, it becomes necessary to build countering devices and mechanisms. If any government on this planet wishes to protect their own people and survive as a nation, they should fight back and work on dissipating destructive weather systems, and also work on eliminating the pollution problem by moving away from burning fossil fuels. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.